Bismillah, could I just get confirmation from someone that they can see and hear, inshallah. Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. A warm welcome to everyone. Jazakumullah khairan for joining. I hope everyone's enjoying this beautiful month of Ramadan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted us with. As we know, many people, subhanAllah, haven't had the opportunity to reach this month, especially in recent times. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been very kind to us. The fact that He's allowed us to reach this beautiful month. Can everyone hear me clearly? Could I just get a message? Is it breaking up a little? Inshallah. Okay, so inshallah, the plan is there. The plan is, inshallah, we'll be on a journey, and this is a journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the means of that journey is we'll be going through a book written by one of the famous scholars, Al-Qayyim, rahimahullah. He's written a book, In the Dimensions of Salah. It's available on, you can get it as a PDF from kalamullah.com. And you can also, sorry, I'm just getting a few messages saying it's breaking up. So you can get it as a PDF online, but also you can purchase it online as well. So inshallah, we'll be delving into the inner dimensions of Salah, and we'll be speaking about various things which aren't directly connected to the Salah, but really you'll find that the Salah is something that requires many different things. And so we'll be talking about various different things, and bear with me, inshallah, they may not be directly linked to the Salah, but they are inextricably connected and linked to the Salah, if that makes sense. So the first seminar, inshallah, of this journey will be covering intentions and mindset. We'll be covering intentions and mindset. Sorry, before I want to mention, so I'm not a sheikh, I'm not a student of knowledge, I'm just a student like you guys. So if I'm making mistakes, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me. Anything good that I say is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And please, I don't like to see this as a lecture, rather it's just a discussion whereby I'm leading that discussion. So please feel free to share your comments by the message. I can read the messages, inshallah. And it's just a discussion, share our input. So the first session, inshallah, today, we will be covering a few things. So we'll be covering intention and mindset. We'll be covering ibadah, as Salah is an act of ibadah, so we're just going to look at what ibadah is. And then we're going to briefly look at what the Salah was to the people of the past, what the Salah was to the people of the past, inshallah. So, let's begin, inshallah. So, the reason I want to start with this is it puts everything into perspective, and it puts our Salah into perspective as well. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in a hadith, says that the dunya sijn al-mu'min wa jannat al-kafir. The dunya is a sijn for the believer, and is a paradise for the disbeliever. Now, very quickly, just to keep this interactive, can the brothers and sisters just share when Rasulullah says the dunya is a prison for the believer, what do we mean? What do we think means by this? Brothers and sisters, just share their comments, inshallah. And if you want your comments to be hidden, you can always private message to myself, and I can read it out, inshallah. It'd be interesting just to hear your guys' thoughts on this. What do we think? What do we think of? Why do we think the dunya is a prison? Okay, mashallah. So I've got a message. So one of the brothers is saying it's a prison. A few people are saying, yeah, exactly. So it's a prison because compared to the akhirah, it's a prison. Compared to the akhirah, where we're going towards our final home, inshallah, our destination, anything compared to that is like a prison. And yeah, exactly. So yeah, and so someone mentioned that it's like a test, and we will reach Jannah, our ultimate home, our ultimate destination. So exactly, those are all good points. And the reason why the dunya is a prison for the believer can be seen as that. But one of the reasons, one of the scholars, he mentions that the dunya is a sijn, a prison for the believer, because we are separated. The lover is separated from his beloved. And when you love someone so much and you can't see them, you can't be with them, that feels like a prison. And we all know that. We can all think of someone that we love. And if you can never see that person, if you love them so much but you can never see them, then what kind of happiness, what kind of solace, what kind of contentment can you have if you can never see that person that you love the most? And so some of the scholars, they say that the dunya is a sijn for the believer, because the believer, the lover, is separated from his beloved. And only when he is out of this prison, when we leave this world, we get to be with Allah, we get to be in the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the ultimate goal. Why am I mentioning this in relation to the salah? The reason I'm mentioning this is because, yes, we can't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can't be in the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just as a side note, forgive me, I will go on a few tangents, but inshallah they are related to salah somehow, inshallah. The highest rank in Jannah, the people in Jannah, their highest rank of people is they get to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 2 times. Once in the morning and once in the evening. Subhanallah. And we ask Allah to make us from these people. They get to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala twice a day. Subhanallah. And going back to why is this related to the salah? Well, we can't be with Allah. We can't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the ultimate goal. We ask Allah to make us from those. Allahumma ameen. But what we can do is we can speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can have a direct conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do we have that direct conversation with Allah? We have that direct conversation and communication and connection with Allah through the salah. And that's what the salah is ultimately. It's an opportunity that Allah has given us, whereby we can speak and communicate and just connect. So that is our ultimate goal. And the salah, as we mentioned, we can't speak to Allah. Sorry, we can't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can speak to him, and that's salah, inshallah. Now, I very briefly want to go on to mentioning intentions. The reason being I want to mention this is it can be very powerful, and I also want to look at the inner dimensions of intention, inshallah. So we'll know the hadith, I'm sure some of us know, that Rasulullah mentions that actions are blocked by their intentions. And we've all heard this, and whatever you get what you intended for. And so what's profound about this hadith is Ibn Al-Qayyim mentions something about this, about actions by their intentions. And what's amazing is that 2 people can be doing exactly the same act. For example, 2 people can be praying to Allah. One person could be getting ajr and one person could be getting sins. Because based on the intention, one person could be praying purely for the fact that he wants other people to see him pray, for example. It's purely just an act of showing off. The other person is praying so that he can be with Allah, so that he can see Allah in the akhirah. So that's why it's important. But also something else that's very interesting that Ibn Al-Qayyim mentions is he goes on to mention that. So he goes on to mention, for Allah's assistance is contingent of the level of intention. So whoever perfects a good intention, Allah will provide him with a complete assistance. Whoever's intention is deficient, Allah's assistance is withheld according to the deficiency. I.e., what does this mean? This means that we have a very lofty intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance will be greater. And that's why we want to make sure when we delve into the inner dimensions of salah, we go into on this journey of trying to connect with Allah better through our salah, we want to have the highest of intentions. Why? Because we know that Allah's assistance contingent is dependent on the level of intention. Okay, so what are our intentions? And now again, I want everyone just to, if you don't want to share them publicly, then you can private message them, inshallah. But I want to go through some of our intentions, inshallah. So Number one, I want us to this course to be a means of increasing our khushu' in salah, inshallah. I want us to love the salah. I want the salah to be something that we really love. It's not something that we see as a burden that we have to do 5 times a day, but we want to make sure and we want to have the feeling of love for salah. And this is a point where the brothers and sisters, please feel free to share your intentions, and that will be a means of obtaining some sort of ajr, or some sort of reward, inshallah, because I will share the intentions that you mentioned. So the third one is to appreciate the importance of salah. Fourth is to know and to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we mentioned, that salah is ultimately a connection, Allah is a way of speaking to Allah directly. And 5 is to earn Allah's pleasure and to see His noble face. Okay, and I want to now go into some detailed, more specific intentions. So I want to feel what the Sahaba felt, and we're going to go through some stories of the Sahaba. But I want to feel what they felt. Their salah seemed so different to ours. I want our salah to be like that, inshallah. I want to feel like I'm talking to Allah. But we've always heard that people heard stories in the past that when people pray, it's like they're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to feel that. I want to feel like I'm in a conversation. When I start my salah, when I say Allahu Akbar, I want to feel like I'm in a direct conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to enjoy the salah more than everything else. I want to look forward to my prayers just like they did, the people of the past, just like they did. I want the salah to be a full conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want regular tahajjud and nawafil to be a regular norm in my life. I want the salah to be my go-to for everything. What do I mean by this? So let's say now, alhamdulillah, we've all got a bit more time than we do because of the current global situation. I want the salah to be my go-to for everything. So when I have a few minutes spare, I don't want to get my phone out and start scrolling on Instagram. I don't want to get my phone out and start scrolling on Facebook. But I want to go do wudu. I want to pray to Allah. I want that to be my ultimate enjoyment. I want to have that connection with the salah. So much so that if I have a few minutes spare, I want to do 2 rak'ah to Allah and just pray to Him. And I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be my best friend. I want Allah, and inshallah, we will cover this in terms of loving Allah and having that connection with Allah in the third seminar, and that's probably my favorite seminar out of all 3, but inshallah we will get to that. That talks about intimacy and love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so ibadah. Who can quickly tell me? Someone give me a very short definition. What is ibadah? What is ibadah? Tell me, inshallah. Any brothers and sisters have any? Okay, so someone's mentioned, so ibadah is worship. Exactly. So ibadah, I don't want to ignore this. Okay, so it's time we spend with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And any action for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so ibadah is, someone mentioned, is worship. And just to go into that a bit more, ibadah is anything that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is done for His sake. And we get this from Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah's book, Al-Ubudiyyah. He says that ibadah is a comprehensive term comprising anything and all that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Anything and all that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. What does this mean? This means that everything we do in our life can become an act of ibadah, as long as it is pleasing to Allah and is done for His sake. As long as it is pleasing to Allah and is done for His sake, which is amazing. And we're going to go into this a little bit more. So, well, we know, we've heard of the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and I did not create jinn and mankind except to worship me. This means that our purpose in life is to worship Allah, to be in a state of ubudiyyah, to be in a state of servitude and worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how do we do that? How do we achieve the state? Well, we achieve the state, we know that everything in our life, our sleeping, our walking, our talking, spending time with our brothers, spending time with our sisters, spending time with our parents, all of this can become an act of ibadah. Our studies can become an act of ibadah. How? Based on your intention. Based on your intention. And then therefore, if you live your life like this, everything in your life can become an act of ibadah, which is amazing, which is an amazing state to be in. Everything becomes an act of ibadah. So Ibn Al-Qayyim, he goes on to says, the sincere lover considers it a betrayal of his beloved to elect him to act for any purpose other than please him. such that even if he engages in a permissible act out of his own nature or desire, as opposed to purely for the purpose of pleasing his beloved, he repents just as he repents from his sin. Subhanallah. So what this means, let's put this into context. A person can reach a state such that if he eats, that his eating is purely for himself and not for Allah. He will seek repentance from that. He'll make tawbah from that. Why? Because he has done something for himself and not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is an incredible state to be in. May Allah make us from these people, inshallah. Okay, so, and he goes on to mention this proclivity continues to strengthen until all his permissible actions become acts of obedience, such that his sleeping, eating, and resting are weighed just as his night prayer, fasting, and diligence are weighed. He remains always in either a state of prosperity, being grateful to Allah for his blessings, one of difficulties, enduring them with patience, always traveling closer to Allah, both whilst awake and asleep. Subhanallah. So this shows the power of intentions and the power of having sincerity behind intentions. You can have such a good intention for sleeping that your sleeping can outdo someone else's tahajjud. Subhanallah. How? Because let's give an example. So sleeping, you can make a dua to Allah. Oh Allah, allow me to have I want to sleep. I want to sleep so that I can have beautiful pleasure with you in a few hours' time. Or I want to sleep so that I can wake up and my body is refreshed so that I can bring tahajjud to you. So now every moment of that sleep becomes an act of ibadah, such that Ibn Al-Qayyim goes on to mention that your sleeping can outdo someone else's tahajjud. Subhanallah. Amazing. And someone's eating can outdo someone else's fasting. May Allah make us from these people. And so the reason I'm mentioning this is because this is literally paradigm shifting. It's like putting a different spin on everything. Because everything in your life that you do, you're studying, you're spending time with your parents, spending time with your siblings, everything can become an act of ibadah, such that it can really bring you closer to Allah. Everything can become an act of ibadah, which is amazing. And that's why, and some of the scholars mention, the normal habits of the wise are like acts of worship, while the worship of the foolish are little more than habits. And let's just take a few moments to digest that. What does that mean? The habits of the wise are just the normal things you do in your day become acts of worship. Why? Because everything is done to please Allah. Everything is done to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah make us from these. And whilst the worship of the foolish are little more than habits. So the prayers, for example, of the foolish are little more than habits. All it becomes is just a habit. I need to do my salah because Allah, it's just become a habit. There's no presence of mind, there's no presence of heart. It just becomes purely a habit. And some of the predecessors of some of the scholars of the past mentioned how amazing is it that the sleep and eating of the wise outdo the wicked. And so I just want us to understand and conceptualize it, to really understand that everything in our life, not just salah, but everything in our life can become an act of ibadah. Everything, our sleeping, our eating, spending time with our parents, spending time with friends, everything can become an act of ibadah and everything can become pleasing to Allah. That's amazing. So when you're walking to the university, for example, now we can't, but let's say when we're walking to university, that can all become an act of ibadah. Why? Because it's done for the sake of Allah. It's done for the sake of Allah. May Allah make us from inshallah. Okay. So, and he goes on to mention Ibn Al-Qayyim, he says, when the sincere lover speaks, he speaks for Allah and by Allah's providence. If he is silent for Allah. If he moves, it is in fulfilling his command. And if he is still, it is in seeking his pleasure. Thus he is always for Allah, by Allah, and with Allah. So basically, this individual, inshallah, this is our intention. And remember, this may seem like a lofty intention for us, right? To reach the status. But as we mentioned, Allah's existence is contingent level of intention. So if you have a very lofty intention, Allah will help you more. If you have a very low intention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help is held, as it mentions. Okay. And therefore, we can now fulfill and live this verse. This verse can become something that we can live and really understand. I have not created mankind and jinn except to worship me. By the way, my dear brothers and sisters, forgive me. Sometimes I speak a little fast. This is recorded, inshallah. So for those who have missed out or missed anything, bad information, then we'll go back and inshallah. And as I mentioned, having this mindset whereby everything in your life is done for the sake of Allah, is done to seek closeness to Allah, this will change your life. This will really change your life. Everything in your life can become an act of ibadah. This will really change your life, inshallah. I want to ask you a question now. This is to the brothers and sisters. What does this lead to? What does this lead to? Having this sort of mindset, what does this lead to? Having a mindset whereby you want to do everything. When you start to eat, you're eating this for Allah. When you spend time with your parents, you're spending time with your parents for Allah. What does this lead to? Anyone message? Share some thoughts with us, inshallah. Okay, mashallah. So I'm getting to you to avoid sins and develop ihsan, to live like a muhsin, to seek excellence in everything you do. Okay. Sorry, I missed something. Okay. To be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that we do. Okay. So that we're doing, see, exactly. So that's a very nice one. So we stay away from things that take us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or things that are unproductive, aren't good for us. Okay, that's also, subhanAllah, so someone sharing that everything you do is for the sake of Allah, the outcome isn't affected. Whether you do well in it or you do bad in it, that's not your goal. Your goal is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And someone saying that it will give us strength in Iman. So exactly, yeah. So that's what it leads to. So what does this lead to? It leads to a mindset. It leads to a mindset that always mindful of Allah and you're in pursuit of His pleasure. What does that mean? That means that everything you do, Allah is always at the forefront of your mind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always at the forefront of your mind. So when you're about to eat, when you're about to study, when you're about to do anything in your life, you want to make it so that it is pleasing for Allah. And that's an amazing mindset to be in. And Ibn Al-Qayyim, he mentions, and this is in one of his other books, he mentions that being mindful of Allah is being on the way to Him at all times with overwhelming glorification, inciting nearness and urging joy. To be with Allah provides one with intimacy and love. Any love that is not associated with the glorification of the beloved one is a reason to distance him away from the beloved and lose his respect. So as we mentioned, and you guys mentioned, it develops a mindset. Everything we do, so not just the salah, but everything we do is for the sake of Allah. We try to make everything for the sake of Allah, and that's when you can then live that verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "We have not created an jinn except to worship." And that's a very, very amazing state to be in. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be able to constantly remember Him, and constantly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is at the forefront of our minds, inshallah. So now we're going to move on to the salah a little bit more. So in terms of the salah, and bear with me, inshallah, these are all very, very important things that we need to address before salah. So the salah is a means of the salah is a means of pleasing, communicating, and connecting with Him. That's what it is. Sometimes we think of the salah as something that we have to do 5 times a day and it's a burden, and we just do it to get it out of the way and then we can just crack on with our lives. But really, the salah is an invitation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're going to go into a lot more, inshallah, in the second seminar in terms of the salah and the inner dimensions of salah. Just as a brief definition, the salah is an invitation from Allah. It's an invitation from Allah to speak to Him, to please Him, to communicate and to connect with Him. That's what the salah is. And we should never see it as a burden, something that Allah has given us as some sort of a difficulty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's immense love for us that He has mandated and made it obligatory on us so that we can connect, communicate, and worship Him. What does this mean? This means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if I hadn't made it obligatory or mandated it or made it obligatory for you, the reality is most of us wouldn't pray. We forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it's out of Allah's love that He has made it compulsory for us. He knows if we don't If he hadn't made it compulsory, we would forget about our salah, and therefore we would forget about Allah. So Allah has, out of His immense love for us, He has mandated it and made it obligatory for us, so that we can communicate and connect with Him and not forget Him. And Ibn Al-Qayyim, he goes on to mention that it is enough of an honor that you are His worshipper. And this is such an incredible statement. It is enough of an honor that you are His worshipper. SubhanAllah. And let's just try to internalize that and understand that a little bit, inshallah. That salah, it's, as we mentioned, it's an invitation from Allah. And the fact that you can even call yourself a worshipper of Allah is amazing. The fact that you can call yourself a worshipper of Allah is amazing. It's a gift. Not everyone has that gift. You can pray to Allah and speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted this to us. And Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions that it's really enough of an honor that you are His worshipper. The fact that we get to do sujood to Allah, the fact that we get to say La ilaha illallah, the fact that we can pray 5 times a day and even more to Allah is a massive gift from Allah. It's a huge gift from Allah. And not everyone is gifted with this. Not everyone has been given this. So let's try to bear that in mind, inshallah. So now what we're going to do, inshallah, and I didn't mention at the beginning, but what the length of these sessions, I'm going to try to keep them around 45 minutes, just because it's Ramadan and we can spend time doing other things, but also in terms of our concentration, it can be a bit difficult to sit up to a screen for an hour. So we will try to limit it to 45 minutes each session, inshallah. So now we're going to talk about what the salah was to the people of the past. We're going to talk about what the salah was to people of the past. And we're going to start with our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He mentioned in the hadith, he says that the coolness of my eyes lies in the salah. The coolness of my eyes lies in the salah. And to understand this, we need to understand what does the coolness of my eyes mean? What does this mean? So this is a phrase that's used by the Arabs. It was used by the Arabs. It still is. Used by the Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula. And what this, I'll give a point, an example to illustrate this, what this means. So let's say you're in Saudi Arabia, those who have been. Let's say you're in Saudi Arabia and it's midday, the sun is on top of you, and you can feel the blistering heat. That heat is just making you sweat so much. It's making you sweat so much, and you're sweating a lot. You just feel so hot. You feel overwhelmed, and the sun is on top of you. You just want to find some shade. You want some coolness, and you're standing there, and it's just so hot, and you don't know what to do. Let's say at that moment, you get a breeze of cold air. At that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a breeze of cold air, and you feel that cold air hit your face, and it just sends like a shiver down your spine, and you're just craving it. You want more of it, because that cold breeze momentarily just came, and you just want more of it, and it just cools you down, right? That's exactly what the coolness of my eyes means. And subhanAllah, if we think about it, imagine Rasulullah describing that. He says that the coolness of my eyes lies in the salah. Imagine that feeling where you're standing there, you're sweating, and you're so hot, and then you get like a breeze of cold air that just hits you and just cools you down. Imagine Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the salah was that to him, that feeling when you feel refreshed and you just want more of it. It just takes you away from this world. You just want more of it. That was the feeling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt to go to his salah. And we all know, actually, let me ask, when was the salah mandated or made obligatory to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Just to keep it a little bit interactive, inshallah. And you can, if you want to, you can always message privately, just so that it's not disclosed. So yeah, so the salah was given, yeah, mashallah. So exactly, so it was given, it was mandated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at during Isra al Miraj. But before Isra al Miraj, Rasulullah, just to quickly go into some little tangent, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through the year of sorrows. His wife passed away, and his uncle Abu Talib passed away. And this was a very, very hard time for Rasulullah. And so Allah gifted him with the Isra al Miraj. Allah gifted him with this. But on top of that gift, Allah gifted him with a gift on top of a gift. So Allah gifted him with Isra al-Miraj, the means of just ease for him, for Rasulullah. But then Allah gave him the Salah. Allah gave Rasulullah the Salah. And this was a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how I want us just to view the Salah. Every time you go and you pray, that is a gift from Allah. That's an invitation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has given you. If He didn't allow you to do it, you wouldn't be able to do it. And lots of people don't have the ability to do it. And really, it's a gift from Allah that you can go to your Salah and you can communicate and you can connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that, and we all know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would feel upset or when he would feel overwhelmed, he would always ask Bilal to call the adhan. And he would Salah was really, like, as we mentioned, that Rasulullah said, it's a coolness of his eyes. And we ask Allah to allow us to think of Salah like that as well. Now I want to go into a little story, inshallah. We all generally like stories. I personally very much enjoy stories. And this is quite an emotional story, a profound story, and many lessons we can take from this. So this story is about Umar radiallahu anhu, and it really defines and it shows us his connection with Allah and his connection with Salah. So Umar radiallahu anhu, towards the very, very end stages of his life, he was leading the Fajr Salah. And so he was in the masjid and he went through the rows. So I just want us to put us into this situation. I want us to take ourselves 14 centuries back. Umar radiallahu anhu is walking through the lines of prayer, subhanAllah. Just imagine being led by Umar radiallahu anhu. It's a different story in and of itself. But anyway, so Umar radiallahu anhu was walking through the lines of the Salah, just making sure that all the lines are straight. And then he goes to the front to lead the Salah, to lead the Fajr Salah. And he starts his Salah, and a man comes, an individual comes, and sneaks through the ranks of the Salah, the rows of the Salah, and he creeps up to Umar radiallahu anhu, and he stabs Umar radiallahu anhu in his chest a few times. He stabs Umar radiallahu anhu in his chest a few times. And then a narration mentions that he stabs Umar radiallahu anhu in his abdomen. But the way he does it is he actually inserts the dagger into Umar radiallahu anhu, and he drags it across his abdomen. Drags it across his abdomen. This is when Umar radiallahu anhu is in Salah. And what does Umar radiallahu anhu do? Subhanallah, may Allah increase him and may Allah allow us to meet, inshallah. He grabs the hand, so he's just been stabbed multiple times in the chest and in the abdomen. He grabs the hand of Abdurrahman ibn Auf behind him, Salah. He grabs his hand, drags him forward to lead the Salah. Subhanallah, he didn't want the Salah to end. He didn't want the Salah to end. And Umar radiallahu anhu is lying there. He's lying there, and the Salah continues. The Salah continues. And Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he finishes the Salah. And by the way, this hadith is narrated by his own son, Umar radiallahu anhu's son, Abdullah. And they finish the Salah, and they go and see Umar. And Abdullah, imagine seeing your father in a state like that. He's been stabbed multiple times, lying on the ground. SubhanAllah, he didn't even call for help or anything. He just grabbed Abdurrahman ibn Auf and pulled him forward. He was lying on the ground until they finished their Salah. And then Abdullah, Umar's son, he comes and he sees his dad, and they all surround Umar radiallahu anhu, and they see what's happened. And he's falling into a state of unconsciousness, and then he's becoming conscious again. And Abdullah, seeing his father like this, he says, I tried to cover the wound of my father with my hand, but my hand would just enter his stomach every time I tried to cover it. So we can imagine the size of this wound. He said, I'll try to cover it with my hand, but my hand would just enter his stomach every time I tried to cover it. SubhanAllah. And this is, SubhanAllah, an incredible individual. Umar lying there. And then his son Abdullah, he takes his turban off and he wraps it around his father's stomach. Because he says that when it wasn't there, when he didn't have anything wrapped around, parts of his abdomen were hanging out from his stomach. Sorry, parts of his stomach were hanging out from his abdomen. And then, so they're not sure what to do now, and they take Umar radiallahu anhu to carry him back to his house. And they call the medic, like the guy who's in charge, the medic back then. And he comes and he gives Umar radiallahu anhu some milk to drink. And Umar radiallahu anhu drinks the milk, and his son Abdullah mentions when he would drink the milk, The milk would just come out of his just come out of his stomach. Subhanallah. That was the extent to how bad this injury was for Umar radiallahu anhu. Subhanallah. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, he falls unconscious and he becomes conscious again. And he becomes conscious. The first thing he says, he hasn't said anything since his salah. The first thing he says is, he says, have the people prayed. Subhanallah, he says, have the people prayed. Look at his dedication to the salah. And wallahi, when I heard this story, every time I hear it, it puts us to shame, subhanallah, a little bit. It does put, I don't want to be negative in any way, but it really puts us to shame, because look at his view on the salah. We have the perfect conditions to pray. Healthy, hot water, hot running water. But our salah is still not at a level that we want it to be. Umar radiallahu anhu has been stabbed multiple times now. He wakes up out of consciousness. He says, have the people prayed? And the Sahaba, they say that yes, the people have prayed. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, he says to his son Abdullah, he says, go and get me some water. He says, go and get me some water. And Abdullah, his son, he says, do you want water to drink? Do you want the water to drink? And Umar radiallahu anhu says, he says, no, I need to do wudu. I need to perform. So anyway, his son is unsure what to do. So his son goes and gets water and comes back and gives it to Umar. And Umar radiallahu anhu, just bear in mind that he's got a turban wrapped around his abdomen. He's got multiple wounds to his chest. And he is just about to do all this. He wants to pray. He wants to pray. And now he tells his son, he says, stand me up. He tells Abdullah, he says, stand me up, I need to pray. And his son is saying, he says to him, he says, father, he says, you don't need to stand up. You've been excused from standing up. You can sit down and pray. Like, you're definitely allowed to sit down and pray. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he says, I'll quote the exact words. He says, may you have no mother. He says, may you have no mother, to his son in an angry way. And what he means by this, and what this means in our modern the vernacular that we use today, he says that what this means is basically, just get me up. I don't care what you say, just lift me up. Stop wasting my time and just get me up. I don't want to hear what you say. So Umar radiallahu anhu says, may you have no mother, to his son. And his son isn't sure what to do, and he just lifts him up. He lifts him up. He stands Umar up. And as Umar radiallahu anhu stands up, he screams and he makes a loud cry out of pain because of what's happening. And then he sits back down and he prays his salah sitting down. And really, this is the, if you can go and listen to the end of the story, it's a very emotional story, subhanAllah. But it's the very close moments of Umar radiallahu anhu leaving this world. But I just want us to reflect on, subhanAllah, his connection with the salah. Look at this individual. This individual had such an intense love for the salah, that he was bleeding and he had multiple stab wounds to his chest and his abdomen. That didn't affect him. He didn't care about that at all. He just wanted to pray to Allah. Why? Because when Allah becomes your number one love, when you are so in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't care about anything else. Allah becomes your number one. Your life becomes central and core around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so despite the conditions that Umar was in, he didn't care. He just wanted to pray and to speak to Allah. That was the importance of salah for Umar. Look how he viewed the salah. Subhanallah. Okay, so now we've seen what the salah was to Umar radiallahu anhu. May Allah give us a love for the salah like Umar radiallahu anhu, and may Allah give us khushu' like Umar radiallahu anhu had salah. We're now going to look at what Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentions in the mention of salah. He mentions, and this is a very, very powerful statement, very, very powerful statement, subhanallah. And we're going to conclude in the next few minutes, inshallah. If there's any questions or comments, send them, inshallah. Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions, he says, Allah the most merciful gives his servant a feast. He's referring to the salah as a feast, comprising of several kinds of delicacies, nourishment, gifts and grants. And he did invite them to attend this banquet on a daily basis, not once, but 5 times a day. And he distinguished each served course of this banquet, i.e. different actions in salah, with a unique flavor and special benefit, to perfect the pleasures and complement the benefits they attain, and to help them perfect their ubudiyyah, the servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. Now we can understand why Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to stand up in Salah. We can understand why Umar had that desire to want to stand up. His son didn't want him to stand up. He was like, just lift me up, just get me up. I want to pray. Because we know that listening to Ibn Qayyim stuff, we know that Umar radiallahu anhu didn't want to miss out the sweetness of standing up in Qiyam. He didn't want to miss that. And Ibn Qayyim, he mentions, look how he speaks about the Salah. He says it's a feast with several kinds of delicacies. Subhanallah. And he says Allah invited them 5 times a day. And each part of the Salah is like different, has a unique flavor and a special benefit. Subhanallah. So when you're standing in Qiyam, you can feel the sweetness. You have some intense love for Allah. When you're in ruku', you're enjoying that moment. It's like a banquet. And just like in a banquet, I know now is probably not the right time to speak about food, but when you have a banquet, you have lots of different meals around you, and every single meal, every single dish has a sweetness. Every dish is different. You know that. You may have one dish, and there's a different kind of flavor that you can get from that dish. And there'll be another dish, there'll be a different flavor that you get from that dish. And subhanAllah, Ibn Qayyim, he mentions that the Salah is like that. Allah has gifted us all these different actions in the Salah, and each one comes with a unique flavor and a special benefit. And inshallah, we will be going into the inner dimensions of the Salah, i.e. different positions, different actions, how we can try to attain some sort of sweetness in each one, inshallah. But we just wanted to go through what Ibn Qayyim, what the people of the past, how they viewed the Salah. So inshallah, that concludes, I don't want to keep it too long, inshallah. That concludes the first seminar. So I just want to briefly go over what we covered, just as a recap, inshallah. So we covered intentions. Intentions can change everything. Remember that mindset we spoke about. Everything can become fi sabilillah depending on your intentions. Everything in our lives can become an act of ibadah. We spoke about the mindset as we mentioned. And I want us just to reflect, inshallah. Reflect on how the people of the past viewed Salah. And I can share these slides, inshallah, to you guys. We can share these slides and let's try to reflect on how the people of the past viewed the Salah and how we view our Salah today. Some action points, inshallah. Just some points we can take away, some action points from the seminar, inshallah. Is number one, the first point in terms of whenever trying to do anything, or if we're on a journey, first thing we need to do is dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah allows us to have khushu' in our Salah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to have khushu' and intimate connection with Him by the Salah. This is the most important. We're not going to achieve any closeness to Allah through our Salah until we make dua. We need to make dua. That's the first thing. So when we go, inshallah, we pray our Asr, we pray our Maghrib, the first thing we need to do, inshallah, is we need to make dua. When you go into sujood, make dua to Allah that, oh Allah, allow me to have intimate, close connection with you through the Salah. That's the first thing we need to do, inshallah. So let's try to remember that. That's action point. Number two is let's increase in number what we say in prostration. So in sujood, what's usually said is Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, and we say that 3 times. That's the normal thing, I'm sure, usually the most common thing. We say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la 3 times. But in terms of the meaning, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, we're going to go into that into the next seminar. But for now, what I want us to do, inshallah, is let's just try to increase number how many times we say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. And the sunnah to increase in number, but also to increase in odd numbers. So let's say we say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la 3 times. From today, from every salah that we do, inshallah, starting in Ramadan, the best time to start, let's say we're going to do Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, let's say it 5 times, 7 times, 9 times, or 11 times. So let's try to increase the number of times we say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la in prostration, and also sunnah to go up in odd numbers. And finally, let's try to aim to have that mindset of doing everything and all that we do, fi sabilillah, in pursuit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Everything we do is in pursuit of Allah's pleasure. So that, inshallah, let's say we're going to go and spend some time with our parents, or we're going to spend some time with us. We can make that for the sake of Allah. How? Let's give an example. So spending time with your parents, we know that there's pleasing your parents is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So immediately, if you want to spend time with your parents to please Allah, that spending time with your parents becomes an act of ibadah. And therefore, everything in your life, Allah is at the forefront of your mind, and everything will be done for the sake of His pleasure. So inshallah, I don't want to keep us too long. Jazakumullahu khairan for listening. Forgive me if I've said anything wrong. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me for anything I've said wrong. If there are any questions or any comments, go ahead with them now, inshallah. If not, then inshallah, and I believe we will be seeing each other next on Thursday, inshallah, seminar 2, inshallah. So if there are any comments, inshallah, if there's nothing, we can inshallah just wrap up here, inshallah. Any questions or comments? Inshallah. So we'll wrap up there, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a beautiful Ramadan and fills it with barakah, inshallah. And inshallah, we'll see each other very soon, inshallah, this Thursday, I believe. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.